Hello guys, today I'm with Frankie ANARKKI from PokerStars, one of the best players on PokerStars. Today we will go through the HUD introduction again, where we will go through every single pop-up and explain how we use it. Frankie has bought himself a Hand2Note and he's ready for the breakthrough. He's ready to even improve his win rate, which is impressive. So, ANARKKI, are you here? Yes, you are. Say hello to the guys.
Hello guys, my
Okay.
pleasure to be here, man. Let's find out how Breakthrough
Yep.
works.
ANARKKI, do you see everything
Yeah, I'm
clearly?
seeing everything. Yeah.
Great, great. Okay, I will not use your stats, ANARKKI, so we will use the other regs from PokerStars. We have Nomads, Hackeran, we have a lot of hands on them, so we'll have a good sample. We can start with Nomads, and we will go through every single pop-up because we have the couple of new updates. That's why we are doing the new HUD introduction video. Okay,
Okay.
Frankie will go first. Just from the, we'll go first. Explain the HUD. On the right side, you will see the HUD explanations, so you can know what it means. Basically, this is the name, number of hands. This is the VPIP, PFR. This is fold versus 3-bet out of position. So general fold out of position, fold versus 3-bet in position. R1 means raise one, so this is opening from every position in 6 max. UTG, middle position, cutoff, button, and small blind. This is general aggression frequency. We have the c-bet stats then. This is out of position and this is in position. So it's divided.
Perfect.
Left is out of position, right is in position. So we have c-bet flop out of position, double barrel out of position, and triple barrel out of position. And then we have the same for in position. No bet means what is happening when the people are checking as a PFR. So first we see strength of their betting range. Now we want to see the strength of their checking range. So first thing is their check fold frequency. So this guy, for example, check folds 35% out of position. Um, the reason why I did it like this, so you can find out, just looking at the HUD, you can see what type of player you're playing and what are his general tendencies. So we see that his check folding is 35%. Here is check, 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 fold, and check, 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 fold. So you want to see all the strength in their checking range, not just once, but twice and third, just to have an idea what the guy is doing. This is
Okay.
this is also for imposition. So first is fold versus a donk, then is check folding in position. So for example, we see that this guy is betting 78%, so he bets range in most of the spots, but he still folds only 46% when he check behinds. And this is his double check, and he folds on the rivers significantly, so we can step the river every time against him. So this is the no bet. We see the strength of their checking range, and then we see versus the c bet out of position and in position. We see how much he folds on the flop, on the turn, on the river against c bet, double barrel, and triple barrel, and we have that same for in position. So now we have c-bet range versus c-bet range. We have how he play his check range, and then we have the step frequencies. So we can find out how much the guy is stabbing. So first is donk on the flop because he's out of position. Stabbing means donking on the flop. Uh, then we have the stab on the turn, stab versus missed c-bet. So he's stabbing 51%, and this is bet versus missed river. Okay, and then we have the same for imposition, stab flop, so bet versus miss c-bet on the flop, stab turn, and stab river. Okay, and the last thing from the HUD is versus delay. We want to see also how he play versus delay. What do you think about Frankie on the pool on the PokerStars? You know all of these guys, and all of these guys have fold versus delay 55, 60% or more, and they don't like step that much on the turn. So what do you think about that? How is
Yeah,
this number so high?
it's because the population doesn't protect their range, the check range properly. So I think the most the regs, even 500, they overfold
Yeah.
versus the lazy bet.
Yep, and what is else really interesting is this is the fold versus delay, and this is call delay fold river. So, for example, you see that this guy is actually folding a lot on delay, but when he calls, it's then supposed to be the range that is stronger than average range, and we see that he's folding the river 60%. So basically, and we see this guy's folding the river 75% after he's folding 68 on a delay c-bet. That means you can like profitably delay any hands and then embed it on river without equity, and you will be making profit immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like really, just to see from the HUD, you can basically from the HUD see that you don't need to see bet as a bluff that much. You can just turn those like worst bluffs. You can just turn it into delay line and be profitable without many problems. And this is how he play as a check fold on the river. This is also like really high from most of the regs on the
Yeah,
pool that we are
they only
playing.
call when they hit on the river.
Yep, I agree. So yep, just you can just save a lot on your seabed bluffs in this way. Usually, I had a seabed frequency before, like 1 year. I had a seabed frequency like 85% plus, and now I'm like 65%. And what is the crazy part is that now my bluffs are more efficient than before, and that's why, because I put them a lot of into delay line. And what is also important, that people actually give credit a lot into delay spots. So they basically all of them are overfolding. So from the HUD, you will immediately have an idea what type of guy you're playing, what is his general c-bet frequency, their aggression, how they defend versus 3 bets, how much they 3-bet in every position. You basically have their check range, c-bet range versus c-bet, stabbing. This is also then fold versus delay in position, call delay, fold river, and check, fold. So basically, you have all the from the HUD. You just see what type of player are you playing, and from the right side we have a 3-bet pot. So this is big blind versus small blind, big blind versus button or cutoff, big blind versus earlier middle position. When you click in here, you can just go into the just every position. But we put it like this because there will not be that much difference big blind versus early or big blind versus middle position, and by this it's we save the space, and basically it's not that big of the deal. So on the right side you have their calling ranges, and on the left side you have 3-bet ranges, and when you put this together you actually get their complete range. So this guy, when he plays big blind against earlier middle position, he generally has 32% of hands, 6% is true betting, 26 is calling, and when you like hover over this, you will see how his call range looks like. So blue color indicates their call range. Always blue line in Hand2Note is passive line, and green line is aggressive line. So immediately you can just from here see the range, or you can go into the pop-up and see for every position what they're calling, big blind versus button. You see a percentage, and you see immediately their range. Same is for small blind versus button or cutoff, small blind versus earlier middle position. You see their call range if they have one. Usually they shouldn't be having call range on the small blind or any other position except a button and a big blind. And this is in position versus a button versus cutoff, and in position versus early or middle position. Okay, Anarchy, you get the HUD. You understand what the numbers means, and now when we understand that, we can go through pop-ups. Do you agree with it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I made the
Let's go.
HUD the way that stats from the HUD are actually always in logic and connected with the pop-up. So immediately when you see a spot that is connected to your HUD stat, you will get into the pop-up and you will have all in the one place. Okay, so let's go now through all the pop-ups in the game and explain how to use them. First, we have the pre-flop pop-up. This is just informational pop-up where we see information about cold calling of the 3-bets, because even here people tend to have this cold call of the 3-bet ranges, and I don't understand why, but a lot of frags do still has them. We have the cold 4-bet, and generally how he play against cold 4-bet, squeeze and versus the squeeze. So I think this is like uh, usual. You see which ranges they are squeezing, how much they fold versus 4-bet, and how much they 5-bet. So you have against any position, you have versus the hero, so you will see how they play against you, which hands they are squeezing. Again, green color is aggressive line, so it means a squeeze. And we see here how he play against the squeeze. We see how much the players are folding in this position. So when he opens earlier middle position, he folds versus the squeeze 68%. We see a range that he's calling a squeeze. We see ace queen suited. We see the range that he's 4-betting, and unfortunately we don't have the sample. This is a blue color. That means that he called the squeeze, and we see that he 4-bet with queens. He 4-bet against the squeeze with queens, in positioned cutoff for button. Okay, ANARKKI, you have questions, or it's pretty standard
No,
pop-up?
it's pretty standard.
Okay, great.
It's very easy to understand.
Yes, it's basically preflop information. You will go for that preflop information about cold calling 3-bets and squeeze here, and you will see what the guy is doing. Okay, then next pop-up is gonna be, in my opinion, one of the pop-up that will give you maybe the best edge, alongside with couple of more, because it's multi-way pop-up, and people play multi-way, I would say, really bad. What do you think, ANARKKI? How the pool
Yeah,
plays multi-way in stars?
really bad. And some
What
guys don't see bet at all. Some just over see bet. So I'm
uh,
thinking almost no one is playing very well multi-way. So
Yep. What is your general tips when you play multi-way? Generally, I divide it when you are in position and when you are at least out of position to one range. So I divide the pop-up when you have the positions on all players multi-way, and when you are at least out of position to one player. You see, for example, this guy actually has a lot of c-betting range in these spots, and we see that he's basically merged in a c-bet, and that he also used big sizes. What do you think about his strategy here?
I need to see some showdowns because,
You see,
uh,
let's see, for example, you see
but just
he.
seeing it looks kind of weird.
I mean, for me, it looks really bad actually, because he's using like sizes in a multi-way like 66% plus,
Mhm.
60% with top pairs. You see, he has like ace 10 betting, and he used smaller size with his draws, middle pairs, other top pairs. This is like mergy c betting in the multi-way spots. And also what we noticed, that this guy is betting the board like 398 multi-way.
Yeah, it's not good. It's definitely not good.
He's betting the deuce 610, betting the even like ace king queen is not a board you can bet multi-way a lot. So yep, generally my strategy is that I bet around, when it's 2x in the pot, I have check range on most of the boards, because if you're against a regular range of button that has 3, 4, 5% mixed hands, basically you're not equity favorite on any runout. So you just can't be betting in a multi-way pots where you have also the range of the big blind. So
Yeah, I agree, I agree.
my strategy is like that, and I think it's the best strategy. When you have the weaker player, I change the strategy, and I have a betting range, but I use only 1/3. Most of the times, I use only 1/3 size. What is your size in the multi-way then? Also
Uh,
1/3, or we go bigger than that?
Mostly 1/3.
Okay.
Only depends, I guess, who I'm playing, because most of the times you are out of position against the reg and in position against the fish. So
Okay.
it depends on the board and who I'm playing against.
Okay. So let me explain you a multi-way pop-up. In multi-way, I first wanted to know the ranges of the people. So we have their general ranges. We see big blind overcall range and small blind overcall range. So we want to know when it's multi-way pot, what will actually reg be calling on the big blind. And here a lot of people are going like really wide. Even regs I see calling hands like ace 8 off, ace 9 off, queen jack off, jack 10 off, which I think actually if the two regs are in the pot are losing for sure. And we
Yeah,
see that this guy is calling 8-9 off and 5-6 off. And yeah, when you see something like that, I think so. So we see that generally his call range on the big blind when it's multi-way pot is around 22%. We see the hands. So basically, he plays it like he's calling against the middle position. I would say even little wider. He also uses hands like this. We also have the same for the small blind. If somebody, because I see a regs, if we have the weaker player, the regs tend to be calling small blind with the pocket pairs, which I also think it's bad. But some people are doing it. So I wanted to identify their range on a big blind, on the small blind multi-way. And one also cool thing is what's happening when we have the ISO of the weaker player and you are in the big blind. We also want to see what type of the range the people call when that isolation is going on. You see that this guy has 11% of range calling versus isolation. And here we have big blind versus small blind isolation. So it's a little bit different because you now have the position on the player that is isolating. So we want to also see what type of range they're using. So this guy is calling 9-10 suited against the small blind isolation of the weaker player. So here first we need to see what ranges they are using so we can have an idea what are they doing. And then we have the divided pop-up when it's multi-way and the preflop raiser has position. Then we have when we obviously want to have a lot of betting because you have position, you're closing the action, you want to build big pots with your strong hands, and we see here which sizes he's using. So he betted with the top pair, ace 5. He bet with the smaller size. And then we see their turn betting range, double barrels, triple barrels, uh, flop, skip bet. What do they have some strong hands when they check behind? Delay bet. What is their delay range? So basically, we have all how they play multi-way in position. We are covered for all, and then for me this is most important because here people 90% of people play it wrong. We see that this guy is betting actually 30%. So he's merged betting into the multi-way pots like we said. We see here flop, turn and river. We see that this guy is actually continuing quite a lot. And this is their triple barrel. We see their check. You see what betting range does to you, Anarchy. You see that the guy is actually check folding in the multi-way pot 85% of time.
yeah, we can attack, yeah,
Yes,
and
because
block.
he basically always bets top pair plus and checks everything else. I mean, this strategy is really like obvious. You can just attack him really hard. When he check calls, usually okay, he did put some weaker top pairs, but generally when you check fold like this, you can be just profitably stabbed whenever in like every spot. So this is like in position, out of position, and this is how the caller out of position plays. And we have all the lines: how much he check folds versus flop c-bet, how much he check raises against the c-bet, against the step, how much he check raises, which hands does he use as a check raise. Because here you're gonna see some people will against the step check raise some top pairs. They'll check raise good draws. They'll basically aggressively check raise more than against the c-bet because step range can be bluffier in these spots. And then we have check call check fold and check call check call check fold out of position. We have the step turn, step river out of position. We have check raise turn, check raise versus turn c bet, check raise bet river, and check raise check fold river. So basically, we are covered for multi-way pop-up. We see everything. There is like bet as a PFR, out of position, in position. We have as a caller all lines, and we have as a caller in position all lines. How much they're fold, stabbing. You have everything basically here. So what do you think, ANARKKI? Do you like this pop-up?
Yeah, it's really amazing because I
Yes, I
used
agree.
to use a HM2 yet still, but and
I think
HM2 don't have anything like that, so
yes.
it's really amazing.
I mean that uh, amount of the value you get from this, because in a multi-way pots, just to identify this type of player, and you know what you can do to this type of player. I mean, if when I see this and when he's betting multi-way and I'm in position, I'm going to raise the shit out of this guy. Basically, I would raise. I would never call him in position. I would be just raising, because if he's betting like do 6-10 board, and he's betting into two ranges, why would I call anything? I would just go and raise all the hands I want to continue. If I have some type of gut shot draw, I'm gonna turn lower pairs into bluffs, because his range just can't take the hit multi-way. He's gonna bet that merge with his middle pairs, top pairs, over pairs, and when he faced the raise and bet on and shove on the river, how can he just stand a hit from the range that is like condensed? Because in position ranges are really narrow one, you know.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think just to see that this guy is doing something like this, you can attack his betting range, and you can then attack furiously his checking range also, because he will check fold everything basically, because his range is so weak as a check. So we see like all the strategy, and from what I see, the people play this really bad. Out of position folds from regs are 60% plus in multi-way pots. Like that's insane. That's like incentivize you to be using a lot of c-bet in position against people, and stabbing a lot also as a caller in position. So you have basically this covered multi-way game. You have covered for sure in every spot, in 3-bet pots also, but in single race spot, which I think is they are far more often happening. If you're playing also like the weaker poker sites, where you're gonna see a lot of multi-way pots, this will be your bread and butter. Okay, so
amazing.
we can complete multi-way, and then let's go more. Uh, Next to the multi-way pop-up, I put the deep pop-up. I think this will be very useful for the Zoom players, because on the Zoom you will have a lot of really big deep stacks, and you're gonna see how people change their strategy. You see, generally their 3-bet frequency will go down. Uh, Big blind versus
Yeah,
button 2.4%. I mean, and you see here how he played deep against the hero. Big blind versus button 0. Big blind versus cutoff 5%, and he only tribute with the ace king suited. So generally, you see how he plays deep. And what I want to know, I also want to know the ranges they are using. Do they still use their normal range, or they are changing it? For example, button versus cutoff. This guy is now tributing deep 8.8%, which is really low. And we just saw like ace jack off, or this is like ace jack off. This is the blue color that indicates that he called a 10 suited. You see, he could just call it, but 3-bet with this. So we see here a 3-bet range. We see how much he folds to a 4-bet, and then we see how he plays deep as a caller. So this is their call 3-bets. We see the ranges that he's calling. We see that he did call king queen off, out of position 2 times deep, which is basically never a call in this position at all.
especially in deep.
Yep, and he also called it not on a 3x, 3 point something x. So like this guy is not playing uh, even appropriate ranges This is fold in the 100 blinds, and you can maybe sometimes 4-bet as a bluff, but yeah, the guy is calling that, and we see, and I really love to see this because people 4-bet different ranges deep. For example, I see a lot of regs just want 4-bet jacks and queens, even like queens that are not 4-betting deep. For example, middle
Yeah,
position versus button, and they will still 4-bet the ace queen as a bluff, you know, but they will not
yeah.
4-bet queens, which is like always a 4-bet.
And the size is the same. They
Yeah.
they make the mistake to use the same size.
Yep, so definitely here in the deep you will have a better understanding how they play, which hands they are calling 3-bets. You see the hands that he's calling. Even deep, he's calling king jack off, uh, and he basically didn't 4-bet at all deep in position. He did 4-bet out of position, but never deep in position. That is also something you want to know. Uh, So I would guess that this guy would only 4-bet as a value in position, because we see that he's calling the ace jack and king jack, which are classical 4-bet bluffs, and he's just calling them. So I would guess this is like he's really value heavy in the 4-bet pots, deep, for sure. So we want to immediately identify those players. We have their c-bet strategy deep. He's betting 80%. He just doesn't care. Even deep, c-bet frequency changes drastically. This guy doesn't care. He c-bet range on most of the spots, and this is how he plays as a caller. He folds 20% only. So this is out of position fold 0, fold to turn 0, in position fold to flop 40%. So generally in a deep pop-up you will have the informations how they play deep. I like this pop-up because people definitely play different deep. Some of them are scary. Some of them just fold a lot of on c-bets, especially on double barrels. So you can then identify those players and put pressure on them. What do you say, ANARKKI? Do you think
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah. This is true.
okay? So you like the idea to have the pop-up deep. You don't play Zoom because I didn't ever see you on the Zoom. But I think for the Zoom players, this would be like really, really important because they know to play like with 500 blinds plus.
Yeah, this is in the only thing that I would miss is just a bet in deep,
Okay.
because like some flops the strategy changes dramatically, you know.
Yeah, because you have the check range on many boards actually deep. You
Oh,
have just the check range on many
yeah,
of them. Yep.
yeah,
And when you see like this
there's that.
strategy, I mean,
Yeah,
this guy is betting every board always.
yeah.
There's
It's not
there's
supposed to be 80%.
yeah.
This is just like spewing some.
Yeah, I mean, when you see something like this, you just need to know you're gonna raise a c-bet against this guy in position in 3-bet pots a lot, because if somebody is betting a range on a spot that he needs to check range, you are actually you just want to have the raising range because he's doing something completely wrong, completely anti-GTO, and you're punishing him with raises, not with calling. So I would raise c-bet against this guy really often, especially deep when he's doing something like that. Okay, so we are gone through the deep pop-up, which I think is also really good, and we'll do later a 4-bet because I put the 4-bet there next to the deep because this is the 3-bet pop-up, and I just put it 4-bet next to it because I think it's intuitive. So you go here and have a call of the 3-bet pop-up, and next to it is a 4-bet pop-up where you have everything about 4-bets. So first let's go to the 3-bet pop-up, and then we can switch it to the 4-bet one. Okay,
Okay.
we have as a 3-better, so you click any position, small blind versus button, let's say that will be out of position 3-better, and it will be opening out of position 3-better pop-up. So basically this is, I think, pretty standard. You have all the positions, 3-betting, what is he 3-betting versus the hero, how much he falls to a 4-bet, what he calls 4-bet, and how much he's 5-betting. So you have the every position, you have how he plays against the hero, and also one cool thing is how he plays against an ISO, because people when 3-bet ISO, they use generally stronger range than normal. So I wanted to see how they play in the when it's isolation happening. So I put these stats also because people generally, majority of players will have a lot tighter range when it's ISO happening than when it's like normal PFR, small blind versus button, for example. Okay, and then you have standard stuff like c-bet, double barrel, triple barrel. You have versus the hero. You see, you have all the sizes that he's using. You can see which size he used with different hands. You have the boards here on just to have an idea what is he doing, and you have
Marco,
here.
I have a question.
Okay.
In this pop-up strength there,
Yep.
what it actually means?
Yep, just strength actually means like strength of his range. You see, just sometimes you don't have, for example, time. You don't have time to see, and you just want to see if he's value heavy or not. And when you see this is their of Hand2Note, their like color editing that they're using. So you see like these colors are generally top pair plus, and when you see this guy 45 to 70% of bet, you immediately know that he's like basically value heavy. So he's gonna have most of the times like top pair good kicker plus. Just by the color you can see like this how do you say uh, colors that are like not warm, like colder, like this, they're nothing, and this type of colors like purple one, brown one, orange one are value hands. So immediately
So
when you see this, like immediately when you see here, it's nuts. It's nuts on the river. It's nuts on the river. And like this type of color, blue one, a green one, and like this type variation of the green one are bluffs. So immediately when you see, you don't need to go to see the hands. You will immediately just know if you see like this green one that he's actually bluffing. If you see the blue one like this, it's gonna be a busted draw, and all of this variant of color will be the top pair good kicker plus.
so it's basically on the size of the bet or
Yep,
the
the strength is I made it for every size. So this is their strength for 30 to 45%, 45 to 70. Just so you have an idea, immediately, just you don't need to look numbers. You see the strength, you see the colors, and you have an idea: is he value heavy or not? You understand
okay,
now? Just to
perfect.
see a
Yeah, yeah,
color, and
yeah.
you don't need to go
Now I get
because
it.
sometimes if people playing like I play only 4 tables, so it's easier for me. I can go in and I have all the time in the world. But I see a lot of people just playing 10 tables, and then they don't have just time to go in. They just want to see immediately. When you get used to it, you will see a color. You will just know, okay, he's bluffing, or he's bluff heavy in this spot, and he's not strong, so you don't need to look even like in a check raise spot. When you see it like most of time it's like brown, you will know its value, and you don't need to look, you don't need to look context of the hand if you don't have the time for that.
I got it. I got it.
Okay, so we have the c-bet strat. You have when how do you play when c-bet is raised. Basically, their check range, also how much he check fold, check raises, and what is also cool, you can see here, for example, when he three-bet, which type of hand is he check calling, just to see a strength of his check call range. So you will see immediately which type of hands did he check call. Does he slow play? He called with the top check called with the top set, and then you see a check call check fold. So generally, from what we see, his check call range is weak because he's check call check folding on the turn really a lot. And then you can see on the river also what he's gonna check call the river. You see he did check call the queens. He bet it 2 times, and when the ace hit the river, he check called it without the blocker. So generally, we'll have idea how he plays, and you will see here, for example, all the lines possible. So how much he c-bet check call check fold. I think all the guys that have high c-bet frequency numbers, you see in the deep he bet everything, and here actually he has the normal 3-bet frequency out of position. So maybe he's using that as some type of the adjustment dip, but generally you see here in the 3-bet pots his c-bet frequency is 60, his check calling. He's check folding only 5%. So basically, when he checks, he will never check fold, but he will check call, check fold quite frequently. And here you have all the line check call, check fold. You have check call, check call, check fold. You have c bet, check call, check fold. And I think this is like the really big important one, because you will see a lot of guys betting range on the most of the flops, and then their range will break on the turn, and you want to see what are they doing on the river. Does they want to defend their weak range on the river against a bet on the river? You want to see, and
Yeah.
we have here c bet check, bet check bet line to see what this guy is like. c bet check betting 64%. That indicates he's gonna be bluff heavy, and here we have examples where he did bluff with the jack 10. Okay, and then we have in a delay line. So you're covered in a 3-bet pots here, and this is out of position 3-better. We have the same pop-up for the in position 3-better, just different position, but basically everything is the same. You'll have c-bet fold to check raise, call check raise fold turn, call check raise for call turn check raise fold river. Basically all the lines are here. Pretty standard. You see what he's betting, double barreling, triple barreling, how he plays against a hero. And also one cool thing here, which I put is how the people play when the flush hits or when flush meets. For example, this guy when flush hits on the turn, he basically bets everything. He just doesn't care. And I think this is most important from out of position play, because you see, like when flush hits, people play that also the wrong way. Some people, when the flush hits on the turn and they bet the flop, they just go into the check range. Like the flush is 90% of their range, and actually the flush will be around 10, mostly like 14% of their range when the flush hits. And people just go like checking range, and you want to see what are they actually betting when they have that low frequency when the flush hits. So when you click here, you will see flush hits the turn, he will continue 40%, and he continued to bet queens in this spot. So the board was 8-5-5, the turn was 7, completed the flush, he was betting the queens, he still bet the or pair here. And you see how they play when flush misses, because a lot of this is happening into the like lower limits. When the flush misses, they just go check everything so the people can bluff you in position. They
Yeah.
just put you on a busted flush draw all the time, and they just don't understand that like a busted flush draw is so
Come.
unimportant part of the range. Yep.
Yeah.
And they just go checking a lot, and actually you want to identify those players, because then they will be or bluffing, because if they're checking a lot of value when flush misses. But this guy, I mean, he's winning player on this limit, so he actually doesn't care. Flush misses, he will still just jam their value hands. So generally this is good to know against weaker players, how they this will tell you how they perceive when flush hits and flush misses spot. And I think that's also one of the spots that is unique in poker, because all the players differently get an idea what the flush means when it hits. Because some of the players will think when the flush hits, they will just go, why did flush hit? Like the flush is everything. Like the only thing they have is flush now, you know. So we want to identify those players. Okay, that's for the out of position tributor. So I think it's pretty intuitive and easy to use. You have everything how they play in tribet pots, in position. Uh, yeah, basically, I put
Same.
some cool. I put some cool stuff I wanted to show you. I put it here when in position three bets. So, for example, button versus cutoff, or cutoff versus middle position. I want to see whether they are checking the flop behind. So you see this guy is actually betting 90%, so he checks backs only 10%. But on some boards you will have a check range. For example, you three bet a cutoff versus middle of position, and the board goes 4-5-6. You have to
Yeah.
check range, yes. And yep, you want to see, is guy ever checking back over pair? Is he check backing set? Is he check backing a lot of top pairs? Uh, you know, you want to see what type of range does he check behind. And here we also have check behind turn. I put it also when he c-bets the flop, what he check behind turn. what is his range with checking behind turn, because that's important when you want to step the river as a bluff. You want to see if the guy will ever have a slow play when he check behind the turn. So we also put that. Do you like this? I mean, it's very
Yeah,
useful
it's
because
very useful. Yeah.
yes, it's very useful because against some player you will have profitable bluff when they check behind turn in 3-bet pots like 9 out of 10 times, and against some players you will just need to be careful. So we want to identify all of them. Okay, Anarchy, we go through that pop-up also. Just now, let's go quickly to that 4-bet one. I mean, 4-bet pop-up, you have everything about 4-bets. You have 4-bet out of position. You have when he called 4-bets. So this is their 4-betting range out of position versus the hero in position. You also have it here into the all the all the positions. If you want to go deeper in it, you can just see for every position there 4-bet and 4-bet range. I think 4-bet range is a better.
More precise.
Yes, it's,
Yeah.
it's it's better than just the pure 4-bet percentage, because it will give you idea about the range. If you see like a 4-bet range around 3%, you will know it's like jacks through aces and ace king, and yeah, you will just have a better idea about it. And here we have out of position 4-bet generally, in position 4-bet, and we have 4-bet 150 blinds plus effective, just to see what he's 4-betting deep, and we also have that in the deep pop-up, so it's not that big of the deal. And you see here what is he actually calling 4-bets with, out of position, in position versus the hero and deep. We see here how he played when he made a 4-bet, how much he c-bet out of position, turn, river. You see these guys betting the flop, basically range, continuing a lot of on the turn, but he's betting only 1 out of 4 times on the river. We have the same for in position, and we have how he plays as a caller of the 4-bet. Look at this Anarchy. He folds only 20%, but he folds on the turn 75%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
so
is a bad
basically,
range and
yeah.
it's a bad range of flop and turn.
Yeah, so definitely you have everything in a 4-bet in a 4-bet pots, so you have all the necessary tools there. Okay, let's go now into the one pop-up that I really enjoy. It is the overbet pop-up. Here we have everything about overbets. We have out of position, in position, how he plays versus overbet, and how he plays out of position versus overbet and in position versus overbet. So, for example, we see that this player turn folds against an overbet 60%, and we see here turn check calling 36%. So we want to see which hands he's calling against an overbet on a turn. So we see that this guy is calling top pairs, but he also is slow playing. So he's slow playing fours. He's slow playing the 2 pairs. So he has a slow place also in the range. And generally, I would say he defends against an overbet really decently. He's actually even a little little over defending it. So we see generally he calls even with the middle pairs. He calls with the draw plus pair, sevens without a blocker. So generally this is how he plays against an overbet on the turn when he's out of position. And then a cool thing is to know how he's gonna be playing river. So we see that he actually check calls against any size 27% of the time, and he check folds to 73%. So I would say this guy will call an overbet against you with the top pairs, but when you shove the river, he will just be calling the sets and 2-pair plus, and he will be folding all of these top pairs that he actually calls. For example, king 10, king 7. He will actually fold that on the river, but will defend it on the turn. It seems like that because he's
Yeah.
falling to a river 73%. And here we want to see if the guy is check raising against an overbet, because generally against an overbet we want to protect a lot of your range and do a lot of calls. So we want to see what type of hands they will be raising against. And here we have that also, and we have all the river stuff. This is like when he calls the turnover bet, how he play in that line when he just calls the turnover bet, and then he's faced with another bet. And this is generally how much he folds on the river against an overbet. And you see that this guy is actually overfolding to rivers quite heavily. Out of position folds 76%. On the river fold 78% in position. So he overfolds, and his calling range is mainly the top, near top of their range, so only value hands. He has some top pairs, but yeah, it's, you see that it's a small pots in, you see 9 blinds, but when the pot is big he's going to be folding really substantially. And here we have how he play when he overbets out of position, what hands do he overbets out of position. So we see immediately this guy is really bluff heavy. He overbets all his draws, and you see that folds to raise a lot. And then on the river, he's basically not continuing that much with his bluffs. You see this? You see like what is color editing that important. You just see, okay, river bet, and you see this color, and you don't need to go to see what hands he did have, because 95% it's gonna be nuts. And the same thing is going to be here. Most of the time when he overbets the river, it's going to be nuts. So we have the river bet, we have the turn overbet, and we have when he overbet the turn, river bet. Is he going to use the overbet again, or he's going to use under overbet size? You have that also for out of position and in position. So you are covered with for the overbet region. And look at these stats, which is actually really nice. Check fold river. This guy, when actually overbets the turn, when he checks the river, he's always check folding it.
It's
So
nice to know.
yes.
Because you can call anything, just
Yeah,
bet and
yes.
fold.
If you think that he's actually overdoing it, and from what I see, like he's overdoing it with his draws, he basically every draw that he has, he's gonna overbet. Look at this, ace jack on 9-7-3. The turn is king, and he actually immediately overbets. You know, he's gonna basically, I think that and I know the guy, I play with him, he basically always just overbet all of his draws, and not all of your draws want to be overbet. It depends on the board structure. So this guy, that's the reason why he check folds the river that much, because he just has so many draws and weak hands in the overbet range that he doesn't know what to do that to them on the river. And here
Yeah.
we have the river overbet to see actually what he's overbetting rivers, if he's doing it. This is like the general river bet, so it doesn't need to be connected with the turn overbet, just the general river overbet. What is he generally using when he's overbetting the river? So in the orbit pop-up, what do you think? I think you have basically everything. You're covered out of position, in position, as a caller, as a PFR. You have the turn sizes and the river orbit size, river normal size. I mean, from this you definitely immediately know which strategy your opponent is using.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you're covered there, and I really like to using this pop-up, because in today games, betting is something normal. Everybody does it, and I think you want to identify if somebody is doing it in the wrong way, like this guy is doing it in the wrong way. That's why he folds the river 76%. That's why he check folds the river after overbetting the turn 99% of the time. So you want to identify the leaks in your opponent, and you will have that in this pop-up. Okay, let's go more. Next pop-up I want to show you, two of them are really, I personally use them really a lot. It's big blind versus small blind pop-up and small blind versus big blind. Let's go first to big blind versus small blind pop-up. So this is the isolated pop-up only for big blind versus small blind. So it is only for this spot. So we have the information how he plays. So big blind versus small blind, we have their call range, their 3-bet range, their fold versus 4-bet range, and 5-bet range. So we are covered. You know exactly what is his strategy, which hands he's calling. You're gonna see immediately which type of range you're against, which range is he 3-betting, You're gonna see how much he folds to 4-bet, and here we have big blind versus small blind ISO. I think that is also really nice to know, because when small blind isolate the weaker player, suddenly the range from big blind is, you see here is 31% calling, and actually now he's only calling 18%. And you see this, he's actually not 3-betting. He's 3-betting 20% generally, but against an ISO he didn't 3-bet once. He just didn't ever 3-bet. So it's always nice to know these situations when it occurs, and you have all the informations. You see his fold versus c-bet, flop, turn, and river, big blind versus small blind. You see how he play against a hero. You see here, when you click here, you're gonna see which type of hands he calls a flop. You're gonna see what type of floats he's gonna have. For example, he's floating Jack 10 on the King 7-6, which is standard, but I see a lot of players on lower limits that just doesn't do it, doesn't have enough floats in their range. And you have that also for the flop, you have it for the turn. So you generally have all the range that he's gonna call double barrel with, and you see immediately there he's immediately on the turn toward the good draws and top pairs, and on the river here he's gonna be actually calling most of the time with his strongest hands. You have against every size what he's gonna do. You have the boards also here. You have one cool stuff, check behind flop. So I want to see the strength of his checking range. We see that he steps 55%, and that immediately indicates that his checking behind range on the flop is really bad. And when you see this anarchy, you know you can just profitably delay c-bet against this guy, big blind versus small blind, a bunch, and bet river, because his range will be really bad when he check behinds. You see, he actually there's not even single top pair hand in his check behind range. Just think, the board is like ace, queen, 9, two tone. You check, and he's never gonna check behind an ace x.
Yeah. It's really easy to play on turn.
Yeah, really easy. And here we also have one cool thing. We have when he called the c-bet on the flop, what is he checking on the turn? And you can see the guy will just never check behind the top pair. Even middle pair is not in his range. He's just gonna check these low pairs, ace highs and draws. So when you bet the flop as a bluff, you give up on the turn and he check behind, you're gonna always bluff the river, man. Always, because he's just not going to have any strong hands in this range. There is no middle pairs, there is no top pairs. So the guy is stabbing all of these hands. So when you see something like this, I mean, you can just from this pop-up, you can just crush him big blind versus small blind. You see general his strategy. He's going to have a floats on the flop, but he's going to fold them on the turn, and you can just profitably then bluff him on the river. His check behind range is really bad. His call c-bet check turn range is bad. His bet versus me c-bet is actually then bluff heavy. This is his raise c-bet 10%. He raised 8-5 suited on queen 3
It's
deuce.
okay.
Yeah, basically you have like all the possible lines. You have when the flush hits and misses, also raise flop bet turn to see if he's gonna continue. So you see the guy, look at this, he raised the flop on the deuce queen 3 with 8-5, which is okay, and turn is the 10, and he actually goes now with the overbetting and polarizing himself, and then he give ups on the river. You have, this is for single raise spot. You have big blind 3-bet versus small blind. So this is when the big blind 3-bets. This is for 3-bet pots. You have all the c-bet, flop, turn, and river versus the hero, fold versus check raise, checking behind flop, checking behind turn, range, and you have also that for 4-bet pots. What do you think? Do you like this? I think you have everything big
Yeah,
blind versus
it's
small blind.
awesome.
Yep, there's
Yeah,
like
it's
all
awesome.
information you need to know. And we have the same thing for small blind versus big blind. Really similar pop-up. You're gonna see what he raises, how much he folds to 3-bet, how much he calls 3-bet. You're gonna see his call 3-bet range. You see he's calling 3-bet 15% of the range against the hero with 7.5% of the range. So you'll see here the hands that he called: king queen off, he 4-bet ace jack, because green color is in Hand2Note aggressive line, and that's always like 3-bet or 4-bet. And we see the 4-bet range, what he's 4-betting, he 4-bet ace-jack off, how much he folds versus 5-bet, and we actually have here c-bet flop, turn, and river, all the boards, all the sizes, when he's raised, his check range, how he plays, uh, and also for 3-bet pots. So you're covered also small blind versus big blind. You see when he calls a 3-bet, you see which hands he's actually calling. There's no showdowns here, but generally you will see his what is he calling on the flop, on the turn. Generally, this player falls to turn. Look at his, like, he's really falling to a turn massively.
Yeah.
Yep, in all the spots, he's actually floating the flop, but then falls to turn massively in all spots. Really cool to know. Okay, so we have this, and I put it the small blind versus big blind pop-up here, because you see this is raise first one, this is UTG, this is MP, this is cutoff, this is button, and this is small blind. And next to a small blind, is immediately small blind versus big blind pop-up, so it's logical. And in here, big blind versus small blind is going to be when you click here. So you see this is actually big blind versus small blind position, and when you click here, it will actually open you immediately big blind versus small blind pop-up. So it's actually intuitive. You just go here, click it, and it will be opening it from positions you choose. And I think it's in a nice place. You will not have trouble finding it. It's immediately next to a small blind raise open, and this is immediately from big blind versus small blind. Just click it and you find it. Okay.
Yeah, and by looking at the colors, you can see the ranges as well, right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's easier like that. You just go there and
Yeah.
look at the ranges. But I mean, I always like to open a pop-up because you will have
Like
better idea.
strength 7% on the river, he's only valuing betting there.
Yeah.
So just by looking at the color, I can just fold any bluff catch.
Okay. Now let's go. I have two cool pop-ups for you. ANARKKI, do you hear me?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. I have really two cool pop-ups, and these pop-ups will just make your life so much easier. Just watch it now. We have the out of position river bet pop-up and in position river bet pop-up, and we have all the poker lines and all the sizes and strength, bet fold, and bluff percentage. So this is the general. When you're facing a river bet against any player, you go to the river pop-up, and you will have all the information there, and you will just have the easiest possible decision then. Okay, so generally you have the sizes divided into the block bets, 25 to 40%. So this is block bets. You have 40 to
Yeah.
70%, 70 to 95%, and you have the over bets here. So this is the general river bet that this guy is doing, and we have the bet folds and the bluffs. And from what we see, he's bet folding a ton, and his betting range is really strong. I mean, that indicates this guy will bet fold like two pairs on the river. He's gonna bet fold the sets. Because look at this, he's over betting and bet folding 80%. He's betting big size and bet folding 86%. I mean, when you see something like this guy's actually value heavy. Most of the spots he's value heavy, and still he bet fold insane amount of the time. And here you have like all the possible lines. So you have out of position, after betting turn, donk rivering, and after check turn. So you're gonna see how his betting range looks in every line. When he bets the turn, you see that he's like really value heavy, He's
And still
basically,
betting folding, right?
yes, but he's just bet folding still over 60%, even after he bet turn and then bets with the big size again. And you see like he's mostly value heavy. He had only one bluff, and that was like Queen Jack, which is like mandatory bluff, and all of the other stuff were value. And And if he's check folding that much, that indicates that he's folding actually out of his value range. And that's like when you are against this guy, you're not gonna bluff catch him easily, but you can turn the hands into bluff shove easily. That's what I would do against him because he obviously gives too much credit to raise on the river because this is like really insane amount of folding.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's weird.
so we have after betting turn, donk rivering, and after check turn. Uh, we see that he's actually bluff heavy in this line. When he checks check turn out of position and he's on the river, he's basically over bluffing and he basically has all the bluffs. So bluffing percentage with his normal size 40% plus is bluff heavy. So this guy, when he actually goes turn check check, he's just gonna bluff all of his bluffs, no matter what. And again, you can punish that, but by raising, by easily calling him down, and you will have basically everything. You have out of position, in position, you have all of his strategies. So you see in position, river bet generally, all the sizes, and then you have after these lines, after betting turn, calling turn, and after check check turn. So definitely you see immediately the strength of his range, and you see generally how aggressive on the river he is. You see all the hands there. You see how much he bet folds, how much he bluffs. So everything is in one place. You have in every line. So when you're facing the river decision, the guy bets. For example, he check behind. He check check turn, and he bets. You just go into the river pop up. You see, okay, this guy is full of shit. I'm just gonna easy call him down, or I'm gonna bluff raise the guy. Basically, you see his entire strategy. Uh, I mean, everything is here. When you're in the river spot, just click. You see, we put it in into the cbet section on the third place. So here or here, you put it and it will open the bet river. We put it on the third place because first place is flop, second is turn, and this is the river, and bet river is connected with the cbet pop-up. And yeah, it's just intuitively then easy to find it out where it is. So you open it, you're in the river decision, and you see everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
amazing.
and look at this. Now we have the same thing, but now it is versus the cbet section number 3, and we have versus bet river pop-up. This is the updated today. I put some really amazing stuff I'm going to show you. So let's pretend we are against some guy, and we want to see if we want to bluff that guy or not. We are on the river spot against him, and you just go to the total fold versus bet river, and you're gonna see how much he folds to river, which hands he's actually calling versus the bet, which hands he's raising versus the bet. So basically, you have everything, and raise is really really important because in today's game, block betting is concept that is like highest possible EV from it. And you want to see, for example, what is he raising against the block bet? This guy just bluff with the ace king here. You see, he bluff with the ace king. Let me show you this. Okay, we're gonna put it like here. You see, we use the block bet on the river, and he goes 8x raise with the ace king there, which I think it's fine. But you want to also identify this type of players because you see that he's actually raising block bet quite high, 21%. So here you have all the things you need to know when you're deciding if you want to bluff someone or not. You see you have out of position, in position, and you also have all the lines. For example, this guy after calling turn, he's actually brutally overfolding the rivers. And even when he called turn, that indicates his range is a lot stronger when he calls turns out of position. And he gets to the river and he's actually overfolding in that line also. So when you see this guy and you're in this, or guy like this, and and you're with him on the river spot, you open this pop-up and you see actually you have a profitable bluff basically with every size you want. So you can just choose what I want to rep in this hand, what has the most sense, and use that size. So you're gonna see after check turn of the position how much he's gonna be folding, and that's most of the players will have significantly here. You want to identify those players, and you also when you're deciding what hands actually he's calling, you can go here and you can see actually which type of hands he did call on the river. So you see you have percentage of how much he's folding, but actually you can also see which hands is he actually bluff catching. So you see here he bluff catch with an ace queen, and you also want to see one important thing: what is he raising with? Okay, he raised here with the jack 10, so he turned jack 10 into the bluff there. You see, he let me just move it a little bit so you can see it clearly. So this guy called the flop with the jack 10, turn goes check check, and he checks the river with the 9, and against the bet he suddenly goes again his big like almost 9x raise with the jack 10, which I also think it's nice bluff to be using. Okay, and you have that same for imposition. Anarchy, are you here still? I don't hear you.
Yeah. I'm just
Okay,
following.
okay. What do you think? You have everything against the river bet. You see how much he folds. You see the range that he's actually calling. You see the range he's actually raising versus your bet. And you
Yeah,
have all the poker lines. All the
yeah.
lines are here.
This is really good.
Yes, this is the pop-up I really I think it's gonna give you so much good spots. You're gonna be bluffing more profitably, and you're gonna bluff catch more profitably for sure. Okay, this is versus Bet River. So we are now also going through this. Uh, Now we're gonna go to the single raise spot. Now we're gonna go to the standard pop-ups. We have the out of position as a single raise spot. So all information you basically need is c-bet, double barrel, triple barrel, versus the hero, how he play against the raise, how he play his check range, and that's it. We have also same for imposition PFR, c-bet, flop, turn, and river versus the hero, all the sizes, flush hit, flush misses, boards. You see here c-bet and fold versus check raise, flop, turn, and river, and see here c-bet and 3-bet 2 check raise. So you want to see when somebody is c-betting and you go with a check raise, you want to see which type of hands will he 3-bet on the flop, how much he called check raise fold turn, how much he called check raise call fold, and look at just look at this. His c-bet and falling to a check raise 34%. His calling a turn still 60. Almost 70%, and he's falling on the river on a follow of 5 out of 5 times. So this guy is a nit it can be. He's gonna call it flop and turn, but in any line when you go aggressive on the river, he was just gonna be falling. So immediately from the HUD we can break this guy range just by always following up on the rivers. Any river, any poker line, just go aggressive on the river against this type
Yeah,
of players.
just
I
check.
mean, yeah, you see, like, and also here, like, call check raise, check turn. I also like that stat because you want to see when the people call check raise. I want to see whether they are betting. You see, because when people call check raise, and basically when you check raise, you tend to be more polarized. And when they call that check raise, I want to see what they're doing on the turn. I want to see if they're gonna bet their top pairs, if they're gonna bet like middle pairs. And by doing this, you will see like also that really cool informations, because some of the people will, for example, check even overpair when you check raise them, and some of people will just bet your middle pairs. And when you see players like this call check raise bet turn and you see like middle pair stuff, I just go into the checking my whole range on the turn and go for the double check raise against these type of players.
Yeah,
So we have call
supporting
check
you a
raise,
lot.
yeah, and we have so call check raise bet turn, call check raise check turn, and basically we have all the infos you need to know how he play against the check raise, and we have also versus the step how he plays. So generally everything is here. In a no bet region, you have now how he play his check range. We see that the guy check falls 35%, which is low. On the lower side, we see which hands he's actually check calling. We see some king basically overcards. We see low pairs and some top pair hands. And look at this, check call, check fold is again really really high. So this guy will check call you, but on the turn he will actually overfold a lot. And check call, check call, check fold on the river is here is zero, just because when he check call on the turn again, he's just gonna have really really strong range, and that range you will not be able to fold out on the river. And you have that same for the 3-bet pots. Here you also have his delay c-bet range. What is he delaying c-bet? You see the hands that he's using as the delays. You see delay c-bet and bet river, and you see, like we saw in the river pop-up, this guy is really bluffing in these spots and delay and check fold river. So when this guy delays c-bet and checks the river, you're gonna always have profitable bluff against him in a single raise spot, in 3-bet pots. So this is for the check range, small pop-up but really useful. You immediately see the strength of his range. You see how he plays, which is important, how he plays his delay range, how he plays it on the river, and you will also see how he plays when he check all on the flop, how he plays the turn and the river. So you have everything covered also here. I think it's really easy to understand. Do you agree? I mean, it's
Yeah,
easy to use.
very easy.
Yes, and we also have that same for the line when it's double checked. We see here his again bet turn delay range, and we have this line check 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 fold, because this means how much he's folding after double check. And you actually, when you click here, you will see which hands he's actually calling when it's double checked out of position. You see mostly it's going to be weak hands like a low of pairs, some middle pairs, and ace high hands. And you see here how he's going to play the river. So actually he's going to defend in this line, probably because people think people will be overfolding it. So you want to see if you can push him out or not, and it seems that you will not push him even in 3-bet pots, because it seems that he will not give credit to this line at all. So this is also opportunity to you to make this, you include some your top pairs into double check range, and then go for value on turn and river against this guy, because he will not give credit to this line at all. And we have here also a pop-up when this is check 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 fold. So you're going to see what is he doing after he double checks, which hands he's going to be betting. And like we saw in the real pop-up, you have everything there. He's going to be bluffing this substantially, and that's why he's going to fold to a raise often. And actually you're going to see also here what hands, if he's check 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 folding 67%, what is he calling. And actually you see here that he will call hands like ace highs and some middle pairs. So basically all of these HUD stats will give you a pop-up, so you can identify a range. You see here stats, you have an idea what he's doing, but here you also have a range that will confirm you what these numbers means. So ANARKKI, I think it's pretty clear this, and I think
Yeah,
you
it's pretty
easily
clear.
understand. Okay, it's the same for impositions.
Position.
Just first, this will be the donk pop-up. So you have here everything, how he plays against the donk. So how much he folds to a donk, how much he raises donk, how much he calls donk. You're gonna see which hands he's calling a donk, how much he calls the donk on the flop and fold turn, how much he calls donk and call turn. You're gonna see which hands now he's calling on the turn again, and then here you see how much he defends the river. We have also as a donk on the turn, because now suddenly donking on the turn is like really really GTO. There are like numerous turns that are really good for your range, like a middle cards connected, like some draws that really favors your range. And then you're going to just start donking on the turn, and you're just going to see, okay, I want to see what how this guy sees when you start donking to him on the turn. You have that for 3-bet pots, for single raise pot, and you also have here for the how he plays the river then. So basically here you have everything about how he play against donks, and this will be a donk pop-up where you're gonna see how he plays when he's actually donking. So he doesn't have donk range on the flop, or he did have some, basically he had 2-pair one time, and we want to see donk on the turn. And we see that this guy is bluff heavy when he donks the turn, bluff like turning hands into bluff, or okay, he's like donking for protection and information, I would say, and bluffing with the Jack 10. And actually, I don't understand why he
Okay.
thinks here that he doesn't have a blocker. So I would say that he plays it randomly. I don't think he did a lot of work in the into donks. And actually just gonna see. I want to know donking on 3-bet pots. I think it's really also today it's also a GTO. You're gonna donk a lot of you're gonna donk a lot on turns in the 3-bet pots. You're gonna also use a donking range on the flops in the 3-bet pots because, for example, if you know that somebody is 3-betting you cutoff and middle position and the board goes like 4-6-7, 5-6-8, they're gonna have really low 3-bet frequency, and then you can actually start donking on these flops. And I want to identify those players that are doing that because most of them will not be doing that. Okay, so I think it's clear. You have everything: donk flop, donk turn, donk river. How he plays against the raise. You see a hand range. You basically see his whole strategy. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's very easy to see.
Yeah,
I just
very easy to
doesn't.
see, intuitive.
Yeah,
You click a stab out of position. That's a donk, and you open immediately donk pop up. Okay, we'll go now versus delay. I think it's like similar to this. It's a small pop-up. You're gonna get used to it really easy. You see this guy is falling to delay 51% of the time. You just want to see, okay, what is he then calling delays with? You see that he's calling with like this low portion of his range, but he's mixing some really strong hands, like a two pairs or straights, and we want to see how he defends river, and we actually see his check calling delay check folding river 60%, which is really high, and we want to see what is he calling. We see that actually he's just going to call it when he has top pair or better in this spot, so your bluffs will be really profitable, and you have that also for the 3-bet pots. uh, we also have now the uh,
for the turn.
for the turn and for the river, so really intuitive, easy. uh, did we go through the step? I don't think we did. Yeah, we're gonna go just through the step. This is the step flop as out of position. That means donk, and this is the step turn. So when the flop goes check check, you want to see which ranges he uses as a step on the turn, how much he steps against the hero, how much he steps fold versus raise, and how much he steps turn bet river. Uh, and you see even fold with to a raise on the rivers, and step turn and check fold river, which is also really cool to know. So this guy is stepping turn against you and he checks the river, you're gonna have profitable bluff with any two hands. So definitely you want to use that. We also have here for imposition, step imposition. Again, you see bet versus miss bet. You go here, you're gonna see the range. You're gonna see how much he do it against the hero. Step flop bet turn, step flop bet turn, bet river. You see it's only a nuts. Step flop bet turn is also value heavy. Draw plus pair plus. So you have also that for 3-bet pots, which is I think this is like really nice because you will know exactly what he's doing on the flop, turn, and river in all lines with his steps. And basically this is also for stepping the turn in position, so everything is the same. I think it's pretty clear, but it's still really useful. You're gonna because you basically have a range identified in this spot. You will just see immediately what he's doing and how strong his range is. You have how much he falls to a check raise, what he bets on the river, what is he checking behind. So the range is in every spot, and you have it for single raise spot and 3-bet pots. Okay, ANARKKI is
Okay, amazing.
yes, it's cleared. I think it's easy, and we actually go through most of the pop-ups. Uh, can you tell me your impression? Do you like the HUD? Do you
Yeah,
think
I
it's
like
gonna
it. I really enjoying playing on the tables. It's very intuitive, like you said, and it's very easy to use as well. So
great?
I
Yeah,
just need to get used to to know where everything is.
yep.
And
And I think you're gonna now when we have this introduction, it will be easier because you see like it's all the pop-ups are intuitive there. Cbet pop-up, you click a Cbet, it's going to open Cbet pop-up. You click a 3-bet, call 3-bet, it's going to open situation when in position calls 3-bet. You are 3-betting, you go with the 3-better pop-up, you're going to see what is he 3-betting with. Big blind versus small blind is logically put it big blind versus small blind. Small blind versus big blind is also next to a small blind raise first in. So everything is intuitive. Versus Cbet, you click versus Cbet, and this is the river placement, and you're going to go see versus bet river, how he plays against the bet on the river. Also, when you click like this, you're going to see what he bets river with. So every pop-up is connected logically with the HUD stat, so it's not going to take that much of the time to get used to it. We also have the badge system. The badge system will give you immediately something that people are having as a leak or something you need to be careful about. We split the badge system into a couple of categories. You have the pre-flop like, this guy is squeezing a lot but falling to four bets. You have the flop, turn, and river. River is red, turn is blue, and flop is green. So we see here this guy has a badge raise in position that indicates he's raising a lot in position, and he's doing it also a lot as a bluff. You see here as a hero, you have it big blind versus small blind. So basically, in only badge, you will have an idea what the guy is doing. So when you see immediately badge, you will go like be more careful, and this indicates slow play, big blind versus big blind. Blind versus blind, that indicates that this guy will have in the check range some strong hands, so he did check behind with the trips king, king, jack, blind versus blind. So you're going to be more careful. On the river notes, this is check fold turn. So when this guy checks the turn, you have a profitable step with any two cards on the river, because he's going to check fold 62% in a 3-bet pots. And for the river badge, you have here, for example, river triple barrel weak. So this guy will triple barrel weak on the rivers. So this badge will immediately indicate you need to be careful against this guy. You're going to call him lighter. We have also badge, for example, check call, check fold. That indicates when somebody is over c-betting and then he goes into defensive on the turn because his range is so enormous on the turn, and this guy will just give credit when you bet the river and he's going to overfold this. So all of these badges indicate something that the player is doing wrong and you can take immediate advantage on, or you need to be careful about some spots, like the guy will raise you a lot in position and he's going to use a lot of bluffs, or he's going to sometimes slow play blind versus blind. And ANARKKI, I would say that that's it. We covered the most of the pop-ups. We explained the logic. I think you will have better understanding now about the HUD logic, and it will
for
be
sure.
easier. Yep. I'm really glad you were here with us. I also invite you for a stream in the next like few days or weeks when you have the time, so we can do one good stream together. You will then have also understanding about the HUD. You will get used to it, and then we can play together just so people have an idea how you and me use the HUD and how can they make a good use from the HUD. How can they use the information from the HUD? Because I feel like this HUD gives you enormous amount of tools. If you know how to use them, you will become really dangerous. But you need to know how to use them to become dangerous. You know, it gives you a weapon, but you need to learn how to use that weapon. Yeah, I would say like that.
It gives us a lot of exploits in
Yes.
the field.
Yes, you can just immediately identify people ranges and then know what you need to do to break these ranges when they are not good. And you see, like, even the good regs have like really poor structured ranges in some spots. So you can always attack in some spot against all of your players that you're playing against.
Another thing is a good tool to study your own leagues as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, thank you for being with me. I think this introduction will help a lot of you guys, and I ask you to follow the channels for more future streaming. I will have the time now. I didn't have time for the last few months, but I have the time now. I have also the will, and I will also invite many good players like ANARKKI. It's always fun for me to play against ANARKKI because the game is much more fun in that way. And when we also stream together and play together on stream, I really enjoy it because we then can talk about strategy and you can get also other opinion. So in a couple of next few days or weeks when ANARKKI is ready, we will invite him and do a really good stream. What do you say, ANARKKI? Are you accepting my offer, man?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you
Great.
for having me and give me
Yeah.
this introduction to your HUD, to the breakthrough.
Thank you,
Thanks, man.
ANARKKI. Thank you. And guys, see you in the next video.